What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock, and we're back with some more live Bad Brains, going back to the Youth Are Getting Restless album. I mentioned it before, this was recorded in 1987 in Amsterdam at a venue called the Paradiso. And yeah, the album was mixed by Ron St. Germain, as it says here. I mentioned it before, I really do enjoy this album. It has a few songs from albums I have, or at least from a compilation I have, like the one we're going to listen to now, At the Movies. I have it from the Band in DC compilation, though not from the album it's actually originally on. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this song. Check my reaction to the studio version if you're interested. I won't spend too much time talking about the lyrics, because I did talk about it there, but just to, briefly sum up, I think it's HR talking about the way in which, there are a lot of movies in any given society, but again, this is being written in the United States, the country with, perhaps, let's say, a sordid history along a number of different fronts, political, social, cultural, etc. Basically, HR is saying that a number of movies that are made, fictional entertainment, suggest a very, happy, nice families with happy boys and girls, and, there's nothing wrong here, and this is all, the best way you can possibly be. It's a shining city on a hill. And HR is basically saying that, number one, that's not the reality that we're seeing in life, and ultimately, you're looking, what you're talking about is a two-dimensional, screen. It's, that's all that is. That's just a two-dimensional reality. We're out here living in 3D. And he also makes the point that, presenting this cookie-cutter, whitewashed, romanticized understanding of, American society through film and TV shows and so on, is particularly perverse and corrupt because you're presenting a false image to children, to young people who are very impressionable and who, seek guidance from elders and caretakers and so on. And so the idea that you would then, pollute their mind with, ideas of, conformity to sort of national mythologies and so on is, again, I think the line is that it's sinful. It's, one of the worst sins is to give this false and overly romanticized image to young people. So yeah, that's what I think the song's about. Let me know if you have a different take. Again, none of my lyrical interpretations are definitive or authoritative, but yeah, that's what I've always sort of understood the song to be about, and frankly, it's just a kick-ass song. It's one of their real, punk rock burners, this one, oh, and what's I just did a reaction to it, I can't believe I'm blanking on it. Big Takeover, yeah, I reacted to two different versions of it, actually, the studio version and the version on here. That's another one where it's just such a rocking punk rock tune. Band in DC, another perfect example. So yeah, I really enjoy the sonics of this one, and there's a sort of, this really kind of epic I was gonna say over the top. That sounds like a negative interpretation. I meant it's this real kind of grand, loud, flying high in the sky sort of solo, and then it comes back in for the last verse, and that moment is just such a special moment for me. Admittedly, I'm thinking of the studio version when I think of that, and although I've heard this a number of times on this album, when I dug this out and started to react to it a couple weeks ago, it had been a while since I'd listened to it, so I don't actually remember how that moment sounds in this version, so let's get to it. This is Bad Brains, At the Movies, from their 1987 live album, The Youth Are Getting Restless. I love that little guitar flourish. It's the diesel engine version of that guitar opening. See if you can pick up these lyrics first time if you don't know this song. My suspicion is no. really good on this one. Like, not that it doesn't normally sound good, but it sounded like very melodic there for a second. It does have a different sound, but I think it's deliberate. Like, it's more like horror movie. Never give in. Positively like growled that line. Never give in. I didn't remember this. Number one, Bruce Dickinson eat your heart out with that, the way you held that. Number two, I really like that sort of crescendo end, as did they, obviously. The one thing I would say, and when I started reacting to this album, the one thing of a semi-critical nature I said is that, there's a couple songs on here where, like, the particular sound of certain moments is perhaps slightly inferior just to the sort of, like, recorded quality of the studio version. And I think that transition I was talking about, that I was trying to remember, like, how it sounded on this, the solo, again, I think it was different by design. It's a bit more like horror movie, a bit more like, evil sounding, whereas in the original it just kind of has this big, like, fuck off sort of punk sound. But yeah, the transition back into that last verse, it was cool. I just think, like, the moment on the studio version is, like, even more, fist in the air kind of intensity. So yeah, like I said, I really enjoy that, even if, in a certain respect, the studio version will always remain my favorite. But yeah, like I said, I enjoy their quality in live performances. It's not a matter of their, like, oh wow, they sound like, the timing isn't as good or whatever. I mean, they're on point. And they sound great. It's just, like I said, some of the times, or I talked about it in a few videos, sometimes I think when you hear a certain version of a tune first, like, that becomes the right version, or the most, like, normal version. So then when you hear, whether it's a live version or maybe like an earlier recording, like a demo version or whatever, like, it'll sound like, oh yeah, it sounds like the tune I know, but, like, it's a little off because it doesn't sound like the version that you've had, like, imprinted on you. So I think that might be part of it. I think, if I had heard that version first, maybe I'd disagree. It's like, oh, it's all about that horror guitar, like, in that solo section, rather than the more straight away solo in the recorded version. But it didn't work out that way. So yeah, like I said, I really do enjoy that, maybe just not quite as much as the studio version. Let me know if you have a different opinion. Again, let me know if there's another tune on this album that I haven't reacted to yet. Most of the tunes remaining, where did I put it? I don't even know where I put it. Oh, it's over here. Yeah, bottom line, I don't know. Most of the tunes that remain on this that I haven't reacted to are from albums that I never owned. The only studio albums that I owned were the self-titled debut, that epic album, as well as Black Dots, which I don't even have the disc for that anymore. I think I have a few of the tunes ripped on my computer, but yeah, I don't actually have the disc, which is really annoying. But yeah, bottom line, a number of the tunes remaining are from albums that I've never owned, even if I have heard one or two of the tunes. So yeah, let me know, and not just, here, the studio versions. Obviously, I've heard everything here. But do let me know if there's another tune on here you'd like to hear a reaction to. Other than that, I will see you next time. Peace.